All right, ladies and gentlemen, graduates, friends, and families. For those of you who don't know me, and I know all the students do, the graduating students, I'm Michael Scharf. I'm the co-dean of the law school, and it is my great pleasure to invite you to the 20th Case Global Award ceremony. Now, 19 of these, well, I guess 18 of these were done in person. I think last year we just skipped it altogether. But this year, it's kind of a crazy year. We're coming to the end of the coronavirus, and we're going to do this one virtually. I was chatting with a lot of the people that are here to get the awards, and they're located all over the country, as are the professors who are going to be giving the awards. We created this because the International Law Program is the jewel of the law school. It's currently ranked 16th best in US News and World Report. It's top 10 best according to Pre-Law Magazine, and it brings all kinds of positive attention to the school. It's doing amazing projects, and you're going to hear about some of them today. And it attracts incredible students. And I personally make phone calls to each and every one of the admitted students that have an international law scholarship. So everybody here remembers about 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, when I called and said, listen, come to our school, that you're going to be able to come and make a difference, and we're going to launch you on an incredible career. And I hope you feel that we delivered. So let me start by introducing you to the presenters today. These are my colleagues who are going to be telling the families and the friends about the amazing accomplishments of each of our award winners. So we have Steve Petrus, who is the director of the Cox International Law Center and the U.S. National Director of the Canada-U.S. Law Institute. He's also a graduate, we'll call, of the law school, but also of Baker Hostetler Law Firm, where he ran the international practice area. And then we have Avi Cover. He's our associate dean for academic affairs. He's also the director of our Institute for Global Security Law and Policy. And he teaches our human rights law clinic, and he does a human rights law externship, and he teaches a human rights law class, as well as the intro international law class. We have Jim Johnson. Jim, behind his back, I call him the Yoda of international law. I don't know if Jim would like that. No, that's what I do, because the cat's now out of the bag. But Jim, we recruited when he was the chief of prosecutions of the Special Court for Sierra Leone. And Jim literally went mano a mano with Charles Taylor, the dictator, and he took him down. Charles Taylor was convicted. Jim handled the appeals. Charles Taylor is going to be spending the rest of his life in jail. And now, for those efforts, they made Jim the chief prosecutor of the residual Special Court for Sierra Leone. And we recruited him to be in charge of our Henry King War Crimes Research Office. He teaches our international criminal law class and our international law research lab. And you're going to hear more today about how he, together with some students, launched our Yemen Accountability Project. He also runs this amazing conference that we hold every year called the International Humanitarian Law Dialogues, or now Roundtable. Then the next person on my list is Mike Benza. Mike Benza is my colleague who claims that international law is not real law, and yet he coaches the international criminal law moot court team along with Carol Fox. And for the last couple of years, they've gotten to the semifinals, and this year they got all the way to the final round of the West Hemisphere, the North American, South America competition, and they're going to be arguing at the international competition through Zoom. Mike, usually you see this big picture of him at the Supreme Court. He's the only guy I know who's argued before the Supreme Court, and he was able to unite 9 justices. So that was pretty incredible. Unfortunately, they voted against him, but still, awesome. All right, then we have Carol Fox, who I just mentioned. For years, she co-taught the War Crimes Research Lab, and now we brought her in to help, and she's just a wizard at writing Actually, she has such experience in that area that when I first met her, she was one of the high school teachers at the high school I went to, so in English. Then we have Katie Mercer. I don't know if Katie has joined us yet, but she and Doug Palawa, who is on, co-coach our VIS International Commercial Arbitration. And Douglas was the only person for a long time to win the Best Speaker Award from our law school. And now we have somebody else who you'll hear about today who Douglas has brought along in his footsteps and has gotten that amazing accomplishment. Douglas now is an international arbitration counsel at Squire Patton Boggs, and he was just telling us that he was doing a 15-hour arbitration yesterday. That's what you guys have got to look forward to. Then we have John Gordon. I see Jonathan is there. And Jonathan is the head of our SJD program. That's a PhD for foreign lawyers. He also is very important, along with Jack Turner and Liz Wojcinski, in our foreign graduate legal studies program. So speaking of Jack, he's the director of our LLM program, and Liz makes everything work. I meet with all of them once a week. It's the best hour of my week, I have to say. They're great. And then last but certainly not least is Ted Perrin, who is the manager of our Canada-US Law Institute, also a graduate of our law school. So you're going to hear from each of these folks. And what we do is we have somebody present to you the story of success of each of the people being honored today. Now, when you guys get presented, we've sent you these engraved clocks. Please hold them up so that everybody can see the clock with the engraving. That's the award that you will have for years to come. So without further ado, let me ask Avi Cover to present our first 3 awards.
Sure. Thank you, Michael, and hello to everyone. It is my first pleasure and privilege to announce and introduce to you Kristen Lyons and honor her with the Global Service Award for her work, in particular as president of the International Law Society. It's not hard to understand, once you meet Kristen just once, why the International Law Society was so successful under her leadership. Her enthusiasm, her energy is infectious. Indeed, it can almost be overwhelming. I remember it quite fondly the first time I met you, Kristen. You actually came in your first year wanting to work, as so many of you here did, work on issues of international law, of human rights law, right from the get-go. And so Kristen volunteered her time to work on issues relating to collective punishment in the occupied Palestinian territories. And that work was sent to a special rapporteur and still has, of course, sadly, great relevance even today. She led the International Law Society with a slew of terrific speakers. But her work, and really we want to honor you, Kristen, not just for your work with the International Law Society, but your body of work here in the law school. In addition to the work I was describing, you took such advantage of the opportunities presented here at the law school, working with the UN, providing UN assistance to the Khmer Rouge trials, and you were so successful at that work that you are already working, right? I think, are you in Cambodia right now?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay.
Yeah, but soon enough.
But soon enough. And Kristen will be working in her permanent post-grad job at the Cambodian Center for Human Rights. So Kristen, I look forward to working with you in many future years, bringing students to help perhaps the Cambodian Center for Human Rights. But thank you for your work, your stewardship of the International Law Society, but creating also just such a wonderful environment of commitment to issues of law and human rights. Thank you. Congratulations.
Kristen, do you want to say a few words?
Well, first off, I want to say thank you so much, Avi. That was such a nice speech, and I really appreciate all the lovely things you said about me. I didn't really have anything prepared for this, but I just wanted to extend my warmest thanks to everyone here today. Yeah, I've really learned so much from you, so much from Case. I am so grateful for all of the incredible international law programs that we have at the university, as well as just really incredible professors who are always there to help us out whenever we need and to extend a helping hand, help us with contacts and our work and things like that. So it's been an honor, and I'm very glad that I chose Case as my law school. So
Well,
thank you all so much.
Kristen, good luck in Cambodia. And I noticed you did call Dean Cover Avi. I want to invite all of you, now that you're graduates, to
Sorry.
call us all by our first names. For some of us, it might be more difficult than others, but you're all part of the alumni family now. So, you get to do that. So thank you, actually. Don't apologize. Thank you for starting that. Avi,
Okay.
do you want to do the next one then, Alexander?
Absolutely. And so I'll talk about each of them, but I am presenting the award to the co-presidents of the National Security Law Society from 2019 to 20, Alexander Xander Peters and Michael Zucker. And both of them did terrific work leading the society. Some of the events that they put on during their leadership included NATO Day, putting together a virtual discussion. I think you guys were really actually cutting edge. I think, was that even before the pandemic? I think you had Professor Steve Vladeck talk, and also former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Near Eastern Affairs, Tamara Kaufman-Wittes. And so you put together a great slew of speakers during your time leading the organization. But I actually want to speak also just a little bit personally about each of you and my opportunities to work with you both. Xander, in particular, we worked last summer during this unfortunate COVID interrupted summer, working on submitting a letter to the Special Rapporteur on both torture and also freedom of expression relating to the treatment of medics at Black Lives Matter protests. And Xander, your work relating to that, relating to human rights world over in connection with COVID was really terrific. You took great leadership in the quartet of students. And I also had the fortune of teaching you on your subjects, where I think you have always brought a lot of curiosity to the work you do, asking some of the tough questions that we need to do as lawyers. And so I thank you for all of that work you did. And I look forward to watching all of your great future accomplishments. Michael, I think sort of embodied, he is a gentleman and a scholar, right? Michael, I know you have this temperament, as it's hard to meet Michael within just a few sentences, you will learn of all of the greatness of former President and General Dwight D. Eisenhower. And your excitement about him, your curiosity is going to acquit you well in whatever you do, whether it is related to national security law, history, novels, and short stories. I have no doubt that whatever you do with that, you're going to bring great vigor and intellect to that endeavor. I did want to add, and I think all three of these individuals played key roles on the Yemen Accountability Project, but I know Jim Johnson wanted to mention a shout out to Michael for leading the deliverables team and helping lead and prepare for phase 1 and 2 reports. You were with them from the start, and you gave so much of your time. And so please, raise a glass to Kristen, but now to Michael and to Xander. Congratulations to both of you.
And a double congratulations to Michael for getting married to one of his classmates while he was in law school. So he gets both a diploma and a wife, not bad, from our school. Xander, do you want to say a few words, and then Michael?
Yeah, sure. I also I didn't prepare anything, and it's kind of just mimicking what I'm sure everyone else is going to say. But I'm really grateful for everything that every one of my professors has done for me. And all the opportunities that Case really afforded me. I came here with the idea that, I was coming to one of the best international law programs in the country, and it certainly met all my expectations and then some. It was great. I've learned so much, and I've been able to meet some great people and do very interesting things in all I've been able to do. So thanks everyone for everything.
Michael?
Thank you, Professor Cover, for those kind remarks. I just want to extend, I guess, a gratitude and thank you to both the professors and all of the students who I think I've worked with all of you over the course of these past 3 years. And to say that I hold you all in the highest esteem, and that particularly the work that we all did, or that most of us did for the Eminent Accountability Project, I think was both the most important thing I did at CASE and also probably very just worthwhile going forward, and will be taken over by the rising class. And so I think that'll be probably the main thing I remember from this program.
And don't forget, both of you, to hold up your cool clocks so we can get a shot of that. There you go. All right, the next two I get to present, and I'm real excited to do so. I'm going to do them as a pair as well. It's Bethany Gump Jones and Allie McKenna Lundberg. That's the editor-in-chief and the managing editor of our Journal of International Law. Now, our Journal of International Law has been around for 52 years, and it goes out as a symposium issue to every law professor in the country, thanks to our endowment. And that's in part, why these people vote every year to recognize us as one of the top international law programs in the country. 2 years ago, the issue that went out was the biggest one ever. And all those thousands of footnotes, 750 pages of them, were done by that class of people that included Bethany and Allie. They were then chosen to be the leaders of the journal. And one of the things the journal has had a spotted record on is coming out on time. I would say of the 20 years I've been at the law school, 15 years it comes out on time, and 5 years we've really had to hound people over the summer while they're studying for the bar to try to finish it up, which is not ideal. So when school was about to begin, Bethany and Allie and I met together and we cleaned out an office where the journal is that hadn't been cleaned out in probably 52 years. And that was a lot of work, and we got to know each other really well. And we talked about how can we structure this in the most professional way possible. And those two are so professional that they were able to exceed all my expectations. They got everything done ahead of time. The journal is now out, and if we were in a regular year, I would be handing out issues to everybody here as a souvenir. And if you want them, let me know, because I can always put one in the mail to each of you as part of your reminder of our law school. But I'm really proud of both of them. They are great leaders. They had a terrific team, and it's never gone so smoothly. So congratulations to both of you. And I'd love to hear a couple words from Bethany and then Allie.
Well, thank you for those kind words. I think you mentioned it, and something that's important is that Allie and I had a fabulous team behind us. Several of them are in attendance today. And without that team, we never would have accomplished this goal. So it was certainly a team effort. And Allie was the best person I have ever led with ever. So it was a team effort. And Dean Scharf, thank you also for your leadership. I knew we had you to fall back to when something was new and I just needed help knowing the best way to proceed. You were quick and gave me a helpful response, and I'm just very thankful for the experience.
And hold up your clock so we can see it. So, yay. All right, Allie.
Yeah, I just really echo everything that Bethany said. It's been a real privilege and an incredible experience to get to lead the journal alongside Bethany, and I couldn't have done anything that I accomplished this year without her or our incredible team. We were just really privileged to have such an incredible and supportive group of 2L and 3L editors, and just also a wonderful support structure within the law school from you, Dean Scharf, and the other faculty and administrators who were just, you know, the librarians and everybody that was just so on board with trying to make this a success. And it's definitely been a wonderful learning experience and a joy and a privilege. But I think the greatest testament to the work that we put forward is our actual journal. So I would just encourage everyone here to get a copy and read it, or at the very least find it online. So just thank you again for this award. It's been wonderful.
And I'll tell you, the sweatshirts that you guys did, I love them, and I will wear those proudly and think of you forever until they wear out. So we have another journal.
Caroline.
We have another journal besides the Journal of International Law, and that's the Koosley Journal. And Ted is going to present an award to the editor of that. Ted, Karen?
Thank you, Michael.
Michael, I think I'm going first, right, Ted? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so Ted and I are going to tag team on this.
That's right.
Because we have a very outstanding recipient, Kristen Connors. She's quite a person, and we are very happy to provide her this Global Service Award for her work on the Canada-United States Law Journal, as well as her participation in the International Criminal Court moot court team. So I want to give you some background about Kristen, and it's very impressive. She was born in Middlebury, Vermont, and grew up in Colchester. She graduated from the College of Worcester in Ohio in 2012 with a double major of international relations and religious studies. And she immediately began her pursuit of justice for workers, laborers, producers, victims of war, and other wrongs. So after college, she went and worked in a unionized grocery store in Vermont, and she became the elected union steward, where she helped her co-workers fight grievances. She then moved on to assist in the managing of a nonprofit that was dedicated to fair trade. She helped organize the volunteers, and she also made sure that the products actually fit the definition of fair trade products. After that experience, she then came to Case Law School, where she continued those pursuits of her heart. And Ted is going to describe her work on the Canada-United States Law Journal, but I want to also mention a couple of other things that she did, because she did a lot. In her first year, she got involved in the Yemen Accountability Project, and she stayed involved for all 3 years of her law school education. As a result, she took on a leadership position in that, and she supervised and edited white papers on state and corporate liability for war crimes and crimes against humanity, and on starvation crimes in Yemen. In her first year, she received the Peggy Browning Fellowship in Labor Law, and she worked with the General Counsel of the United Electrical, Radio, and Machine Workers Union. In fact, that was the union in which she was a union steward in Vermont. In her second year, she served as the treasurer of the International Law Society, and she received the Justice Moyer Fellowship from the Ohio State Bar Association. She was placed at Catholic Charities in Cleveland, and she worked on assisting unaccompanied minors who had crossed the southern border of the United States. And there, of course, she had to deal with the third-party country restrictions imposed by the Trump administration. In her third year, she has been on the International Criminal Court moot court team, and she will be going to the international rounds this June. She describes herself as a researcher, but in fact, this year she's going to argue for the defense in those rounds. So as you can imagine, she is pursuing a career in public interest law. She hopes to stay in New England, but we'll have to see where a lucky employer is going to land her and where that will be. So anyway, she's been outstanding to work with. And Ted, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about the Canada-United States Law Journal.
Thanks, Steve. Kristen, I just want to say thank you for all your hard work over particularly this past year, but really the last 2 years. Even as a 2L editor, you were engaged, ready to take on any task that needed to be handled. And this past year, your 3L year, you did an excellent job managing the journal under very difficult circumstances with a difficult project. For those of you who don't know, the Canada U.S. Law Journal is working on a Great Lakes legal research database. There isn't one currently existing that looks at all of the laws and regulations that apply to the Great Lakes. They are legion, and the journal is attempting to put that all together and make it user-friendly so the public, if they have a question about how fishing regulations work between Ohio and Ontario, they can go on and look. It's a difficult project. It's a big project, and Kristen did an excellent job this year managing that and really making big strides. Kristen, thank you as well for being involved in our other programming, the annual conference, our experts meetings, those sorts of things. You've really been an asset. And as Steve said, wherever you end up in your working profession, your employer is going to be lucky to have you. So thank you.
Kristen, show us your clock and say a few words, please. Yay.
Thank you so much for those incredibly kind words. I also want to quickly acknowledge Xander Peters as well, who was one of the reviewing editors for the Coos-Lee Journal. I did a lot of delegation, and he had to review all of the finished work product. So he's definitely couldn't have done it without his work and Natalie, the other reviewing editor. And I'm just so grateful to have had so many amazing experiences here at Case Law School. I've done things that I never imagined myself being able to do. And I'm incredibly grateful for all of your support from my professors and my classmates and my family and friends. And I guess I'm supposed to give a shout out to the EMS rescue squad in Stowe, Vermont, who are my dad and his squad leader are watching right now. So hi, thank you. So thank you so much.
That's way cool. All right, the next person that we are going to be honoring today is David Krawiak, whose name I never quite get right, and I apologize, but that was my best effort. And we're going to start with Jim Johnson, and then I'm going to join in as well. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, thank you, Michael, and hello from a cold and gray San Diego.
Oh, is it
yeah,
really?
I know you feel sorry for me. Not what it's supposed to be here, but we are out here able to celebrate our youngest granddaughter's first birthday, so we're pleased about that. But anyway, I appreciate the opportunity to recognize a number of students, and before I mention David specifically, maybe as an introduction to what we're going to be talking about, several students, and you've already heard about the Yemen Accountability Project, but 3 years ago, we started the Yemen Accountability Project at Case. And this is a project where the students, a very much a student-run project, and the students map, identify, evaluate potential war crimes and crimes against humanity that's been taking place in the Yemen conflict. Conflict narrative. I can hardly say enough in the amount of work that comes out of this, whether it's the case matrix, a conflict narrative, representational indictments coming down the road, most responsible parties index, and I can go on. And of course, you've heard mention of the two of the white papers that we published so far. And of course, where this information goes, it goes to the international tribunals. It goes to the International Criminal Court. It goes to the mechanisms that are investigating crimes in these places. It goes to the US State Department. It goes to the United Nations Human Rights Council. And so this project gets recognized by many international organizations as well as international prosecutors. And so we started that 3 years ago, and I hate to see it happen, but of course the new has to come in, but we're losing many of those that were involved from the ground up this year, and many of them have been mentioned and here today, and they were in on the ground floor. And not only did they run the project, but they created the project. They built the project from the ground up. And so to mention David for just a minute, and again, all three of them and all of them here that have been mentioned today in reference to the project, I could go on a long, long time. But David came in as our chief investigator. He was responsible for running a team that range from 15 to 20 students at any given time to investigate and research and identify potential war crimes that have taken place in Yemen. From developing the protocols to do that research, to build the style guide, to build the case matrix, and on and on and on. And so it's just been phenomenal. I hate to lose him to graduation. I hate to lose all of these people to graduation, but we've got a great new crew coming in. And so to David, David, I can't thank you enough for what you did and your leadership and involvement in the Yemen Accountability Project.
And let me add this. So our law school is small, and it gives everybody the opportunity to do more than one thing if they want. And like many of the award recipients today, David wore more than one hat. The hat I want to talk to you about is editor-in-chief of our War Crimes Prosecution Watch e-newsletter. Now, before David got that position, he was an extern at the Lebanon Tribunal in The Hague, and I went out and visited him there, and that was very exciting. So he was the perfect person for this position. We've had this e-newsletter that goes out to about 15,000 people, including just about every prosecutor and judge and member of the registry and defense counsel of all the international tribunals in the world. And we've been doing that for 15 years, and it comes out every 2 weeks on Tuesdays, and it has never missed a week. And David ran it so smoothly, and he had a very large staff, and he organized it, and he motivated people. And unlike some of the journals, nobody gets academic credit. Well, it's like the Yemen Accountability Project. It's a labor of love, you know, and it's mostly 1Ls that do it. And so, David, for everything that both Jim and I have been discussing today, thank you for your contributions to our school. We'd love to see you raise that clock and say a few words.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the two of you for the recognition. It's funny, actually. The two of you are the reason why I decided to go to CASE, actually, in researching. Sorry, Avi, I discovered how great you were later. So it's really an honor to have chosen the school because of your careers, and then to have you recognize me with this honor. And I think I'm not the only person who's going to labor this a lot, which is that the Yemen Accountability Project was probably the most important thing I did while in law school, at least personally. And I'm really excited to see where that goes under the next leadership.
Thank you, Dave. Now, Jim, let's go to the next award recipient, and that's Laura Graham.
Thank you again, Michael. And David, you just always know what to say. But anyway, let's indeed move on to Laura. If you know, when you think of the captain of the ship and the Yemen Accountability Project, that is Laura Graham. I mean, as I said, she came in as a 1L, and immediately identified that she is the right one to take this new project and run with it. And I can't reiterate enough when I say this is a student-led project. I mean, I'm the faculty advisor. I, of course, have a little bit of say, and every now and then Laura listened to me. But she took this project and ran with it and built it from the ground up. We're talking about 3 different divisions: an investigations division, an intelligence division, a registrar division, active membership that was consistently in the range of 40 to 50 people. Brought in speakers such as Stephen Rapp, former prosecutor, war crimes ambassador to the United States. Richard Goldstone, the first international prosecutor since Robert H. Jackson at Nuremberg. Brenda Hollis, an international prosecutor, and brought these in, and they spoke to the Yemen Accountability Project. She was very directly involved in the writing and editing of the white papers that we have mentioned, and all the way down the line. And so again, I could go on enough and enough, but you know, the Yemen Accountability Project has been hers, and it's what she's done with it and the leadership that she's shown has just been phenomenal. And probably if I don't stop now, I would go on for a long time. And so I am going to stop there. But I just want to thank you, Laura. And in fact, Michael's going to mention something else here, and I was glad to be a little part of that as well.
So, you know, the thing about Laura is she was not a regular student. She already had her PhD. She already was a professor. And in fact, when she did her internship at the International Criminal Court, the judges called her Herr Professor Graham and not just intern Graham. But Laura was also, you know, very courageous. In her very first year of law school, after Jim Johnson asked her to be in charge of putting together the Yemen Accountability Project, she tried out for the International Criminal, or for the Jessup International Law Moot Court team. And she made the team as a 1L. And when one of her colleagues got hurt, actually got a concussion, we had to throw her in to argue the international rounds. And Laura is one of the few people in our history that went to internationals or had a ticket to internationals 3 years in a row. So she did terrific. This year, her and Liz Safier, who's also being honored, and we'll talk more about her in a minute, they not only did extraordinarily well at regionals, but once they got to internationals, they went 8-0 in the preliminary rounds. And they, based on that, were ranked 3rd best in the world. And then for that, they were awarded by going against the last year's world champion team. And Laura was paired with a 1L, and she had to like teach these 1Ls everything, you know, they had to know about international law. They hadn't even taken it yet at that point. And they creamed the world champion from last year. They were so good this year, and they made me so proud. But then on top of all that, Laura is a writer, and she's written several papers, and one of them she did under my supervision. And she said, you know, would you like to help edit it, add some stuff to it, and then co-author it and send it out? So we did that, and it's been picked up by the Georgetown International Law Journal. Of all the articles I've written, I think 100 to date, I've never been able to place in that law journal until I paired with Laura. So that's another thing. So Laura's going off. A lot of these folks are doing pretty cool things after they graduate, but she's in the Attorney General's Honors Program. She's been assigned to the FBI to do cybersecurity. And so right now she's going through the top secret clearance process, and then she's going to be an FBI agent, which is like the X-Files. It's so cool. So anyway, Laura, will you hold up your clock and say a few words?
Well, thank you so much for those very kind words, both of you. Coming to CASE was a real leap of faith for me. Leaving a professorship and changing careers was a real leap of faith. And certainly Jim Johnson, Dean Scharf, Dean Cover, all of you were very influential and helped guide me along my law school path. So I'm very grateful to the three of you for that. I think the thing, well, of course I love Jessup. Jessup was absolutely my favorite hobby at law school. But I think the thing that I'm most proud of from my time at law school is the work that I did with the Yemen Accountability Project. And although Jim said wonderful things about me, I would like to actually recognize the students that were involved in the project who, without them, I couldn't have achieved anything. So thank you, David Krawick, for your work with investigations. Thank you, Kristen Connors, for your work with the registrar. It was such a pleasure working with you on that white paper this year. Thank you, Christina Ayad-Toss, for your work as graphic designer of the white paper and your work as our publicity person. Thank you to Michael Zucker for your work on the deliverables team, and to your wonderful wife, Amanda, for working in Chief of Intelligence. And I would be nowhere in law school without my law school person, Elizabeth Safier, who was my deputy executive director, a great friend, and just a wonderful colleague. Thank you all so much for being a friend and being a colleague over these past 3 years. I'll really miss you.
And now that's a good segue, Jim, to Liz Safier. Do you want to start?
Sure, I'd be honored to. Well, you know, I mentioned a few minutes ago, if you have the captain of the ship, you have the first officer. And we couldn't have had a better first officer in Liz. I mean, from the very beginning, Liz took an extremely active role in setting it up. I mean, our operations manual is because of Liz. Liz wrote an extensive operational manual laying out the processes and procedures as we go through, whether it was from substantive work and research and the writing and contributions to the white paper, or whether it was some of the administrative tasks that, let's face it, they're not quite the fun work and the work that gets all of the credit. But without some of those administrative tasks taking place in the background, nothing gets done and everything falls apart. And so in so many respects, Liz was the glue that held YAP together. And without her, we would have struggled, let me say that. And so for all that you did in YAP, all 3 years, Liz, and I don't know, actually, I think I can replace Laura easier than I can replace Liz if you get right down to it. But Liz, we want to thank you for everything. I want to thank you personally for everything you did for YAP.
So Laura was a professor before she came to law school, and Liz ends up being a professor because we have invited her to be the coach of the Jessup team for next year, since she's staying in Cleveland and we're going to be live, and that is an adjunct professor role. So let me say, I actually met Liz before I met Laura. Some of you guys remember we had this event, I think at the, what was that place called? The Music Club Supper Club, or?
Punch Bowl Social.
Oh, that's what it was, yeah. And there was a karaoke part. And so a whole bunch of us went back and we were singing karaoke. And I explained to people that we have a faculty law school band, and I asked if anybody played an instrument or could sing. And that's where we discovered Carly Koza, who was our lead singer. And Liz said she played an electric violin, and we never had one of those before. And now I can't imagine the band without it. And fortunately, not only is she going to stick around to co-coach, but she claims that she can sneak out of work in the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office early on the days that we're going to be playing. We're also going to be performing at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and again at the House of Blues like we did. So thank you, Liz, for all of that. Liz also, you know, she started as a 2L in Jessup. And when you get to know her, I think it's partly the musician in her. She starts off a little slow and she's just driven to perfect her craft. And so in Jessup, Laura was the best speaker last year. And everybody in the whole region was trying to be Laura. Well, this year, Liz was the second best speaker, and at internationals, she had our highest speaking points and was really incredible in that, and is going to be an amazing prosecutor. And everything that Liz does, she ends up being great at. She's also just a really wonderful person. And having someone like that around, you know, who's always just kind and upbeat, and makes everybody else better around her is just a great quality. So Liz, hold up your award and say a few words, please.
I went on vacation early, so my clock is sitting in my office.
All right. You don't need a clock.
It's sitting in my office, but it has a place of honor on my desk next to all of my bar prep materials. But I have to say thank you to Jim Johnson and you, Dean Scharf, for those really kind words. I'm going to echo David Krawick and say that you two were one of the main reasons I did decide to go to Case, even though it was kind of coming home for me. But as I'm looking out on the panel, I'm seeing a lot of my professors, Professor Benza, who I had for criminal law, Professor Cover, who I had for human rights law, and then of course, Professor Mercer, who I played with in the band, which I always appreciated. I really loved my entire experience at Case Western. It was, if I had to do it all over again, I would do it in a heartbeat. I learned so much from all of you. I learned so much from my colleagues. I'd love to echo the sentiments from Laura and recognize the students that I worked with, David, Laura, Christina, Kristen, Michael Zucker. And I remember Bethany and Allie from our 1L year classes. Bethany, I think we were short-lived in a LEAP group together, which was great. Jazzy, it's nice to see you as well. So I just loved my law school experience. I loved working in the international law community with all of you. It was such an honor to learn from all of you. And I hope to work with you all again soon in our legal colleagues in the very, very near future. So thank you so much.
So our next award recipients, we're going to have Mike Benza and Carol Fox say some words about her, but I do want to just kick things off and thank Jasmine Edwards for being my Zoom TA, because I had to teach the 1L International Law class and it wouldn't have flown without Jasmine. You were terrific and I really appreciate that. Let's though hear from Mike and Carol about what you and your colleagues did on the ICC Moot Court team.
All right, so I am the co-coach along with Carol Fox, and then also with our student coach, Danik Pontrobo. And this year we have the great honor and pleasure of advancing to the international rounds. For the first time ever that the Case Western Law School has competed in the ICC Moot Court competition, we advanced to the final rounds at the national rounds, the rounds of the Americas, and came in second over the competition. And that earned us a spot to argue virtually in The Hague in the international rounds. And critical to that placement was Jasmine, who has been a member of the team for 3 years since her first year in law school. And she has progressed from a sort of tentative first year into a very skilled oral advocate and excellent writer in terms of preparing her memorials or her briefs for the international rounds. She is known on the team for her ability to bring a fresh take on the issues that the cases present. She has an extraordinarily high degree of energy when it comes to both presenting her arguments and into completing her work. And she brings a sort of fun and engaging attitude into every task that we have to do as we prepare for both the brief writing and for the oral arguments. And so I look forward to hearing how she moves forward with her career and how she develops her further skills as a brilliant oralist and as an excellent writer. So congratulations, Jasmine. We're very proud of it.
Carol, are you going to add anything?
I beg your pardon?
Were you going to add anything?
Mike asked me to speak about Callie. That was my assignment.
Terrific. That's a great way to do it. And Jasmine, please say a few words. And also, one of the things that's amazing are some of the externships that you've done while you were at school. And I'm sure a lot of people would like to hear about that as well, if you don't mind just throwing that in there.
Of course. My clock, which I'm ridiculously excited about, and I've shown everybody. Yeah, so first I'd like to thank you, Dean Sharp. You made my Monday mornings at 7:45 much more enjoyable. And thank you, Professor Benza, especially. I know you were there at the tryout and you saw the nervousness and you took me on anyway, so I appreciate it. And Ms. Fox for helping with my writing, and Danik Pond for helping me in general. And also Callie, who has been there all 3 years and has watched me struggle and has helped me improve. And to all of the fellow award recipients, I think we are mostly barristers. So we have really been in this together since the beginning. And it's great to see you guys all here. When I'm not doing ICC or TAing, I worked the past fall at in the Department of Defense, working in the defense of Guantanamo Bay inmates in DC. And then before that, I was at Homeland Security, working in their Homeland Security Investigation Legal Division. So I've had a really great time here at Case. I've had opportunities I never expected. And I'm definitely going in a direction that I've always dreamed to go. And it's nice to have that foundation. So thank you, everybody, for setting me off on the right path. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jasmine. So now, Carol, you're going to tell us about Caroline Ford.
I am. I'm delighted to endorse the nomination of Callie Ford for this one of these awards. Besides doing all the basic work of an active multiple semester ICC moot court team member, Callie has gone above and beyond those duties, especially in supporting the brief writing element of the team's efforts, which is what, as most of you know, is where I come in here, because I came, as Michael knows, to Case Western Reserve as a law student after having retired from being an English teacher. And so what I can really do now is work with people on writing. And that's what I've been doing. And Callie has especially been helpful in helping me with supporting the brief writing element of the team's efforts. Since I'm the assistant coach with focus on brief polishing, and I have, I can affirm that Callie has both submitted in general the strongest drafts from any member of the team, and she has also, in addition to that, she has enhanced my ability to help the other team members, because believe it or not, before COVID-19 shut us down, Callie would come and bring me from my apartment to the school, so that I can't drive anymore because I a while ago in my career had a stroke, but she came and picked me up and brought me to the meetings so that I could participate in the discussions. And then she took me back home. And then when COVID hit us and we weren't getting together anymore, she picked up the hard copy drafts that people wrote and brought them to me so that I could make comments on them. And then she picked up my comments and took them back so that people could have their papers commented on to do further drafting and so on. So all of this, I think, she has done not only all the regular stuff that you do as a team member, but she's gone above and beyond that to make the best use of what I had to offer on the team. And so I think that her great work in all the areas that she's done it, and her willingness to rise above what was part of her actual job description, speaks well for her and bodes well for her career going forward. And I am pleased to have met her and worked with her, and hope that everything goes forward well as well.
Yeah, I'm so glad you shared that, Carol, because there's that expression, nice people finish last. It's not true. In law, it is such an interconnected field where networking is so important that the quality of niceness will go far. And it's nice to know that so many of you, but especially Callie, has that. Carol, you mentioned about how important a role she played in the brief writing. You guys did win a brief award too this year, which I'm real excited about. Caroline, you want to say a few words and hold up your clock?
There's the lovely clock that I'm also very excited about. Thank you to Carol and to Professor Benza, and also to Danik Pond for all of the help and all of the coaching for the 3 years that I've been on the team. It's the international law program is certainly the reason that I came to Case, and I'm extremely happy that I got this opportunity to be a part of the team for so long, and to help it reach the success that we reached this year. And I know that we're very excited to watch Kristen and Jazzy both compete in the international rounds in June. And other than that, I would just echo what everybody else has said about the amazing opportunity that this has really been. And
Well, thank you. So for our next presentation, we're going to have my bandmate, Katie Mercer, and Douglas Palawa, who I remember seemed like yesterday recruiting him to be a student. And now he's an international arbitrator. I'm so excited about that. They're going to tell us about Christina and the ICC team. I mean, the VIS International Arbitration Team. Sorry, guys.
Douglas, you can start.
Thank you. Yeah, I've had the opportunity to actually have several different relationships with Christina. First, we were teammates on the VIS team, and then I was the coach of the VIS team, and I've also been her professor. I'm an adjunct faculty member as well at Case Western. But what really I come away with is the way that the VIS team works is that we recruit students, and about a week or two later, they get the problem. And it's a 75-page document, and they have about 3 months, less than 3 months, to produce a written product. We let first-year students do this, and I will never forget the first time that I ever read what Christina wrote for that first brief, and I was blown away by how amazing it was. I have never seen, and to this day, I have never seen someone come into law school and produce a product like that with such limited legal knowledge already. And it stuck with me, you know, throughout the rest of that year and going forward. Most recently, I might be a co-coach of the VIS team, Katie as well, but we ask a lot of our students, and Christina is equally a coach of that team. She led the team this past year through obviously a very difficult year for everyone with doing most of this stuff virtually. And I cannot thank her enough for the incredible amount of patience she had with going through this, not only organizing all of the pre-moots, but leading this team and leading first-year students, you know, on this experience, 2 of which, you know, we didn't even meet during the entire year. All of that to say that she was just a participant of the VIS team doesn't do it justice. She was the VIS team for the past 2 years, and it would not have functioned without her. And because of that, I've asked her to help teach or help coach the team next year. And piggybacking off of what Dean Sharp was just saying about the law and nice people finishing last. One thing that I want to say about Christina is that this was a tough year, and Christina has become somewhat of a confidant. And in the most difficult of moments, when I would pick up my phone and I needed someone to help me, she was the first person I would text. And I hope that continues even when she's gone after law school. But all of that to say, there's no one more deserving of an award for service and representative of what Case Western stands for. And I'm happy beyond belief that Christina can receive this.
Amy, you want to add?
Sure. So Douglas summed it up, but I'll just add again about her organizational skills are just incredible. The brief is so complex, and she's been serving as co-captain now for 2 years. Really, the last stop where the 2 briefs that they write rest, and making sure that it's in on time and is it picture perfect. And it really has been just an exceptional brief. It's very hard because of the number of schools competing in the VIS competition, almost 400 schools. And to actually finally have a brief that will come out of the process. But I really felt we had a good chance both years of doing that, even though that didn't happen, and we will never know why. The other thing I'll just mention is she has been a member, you've heard her name a couple times, of the Yemen Accountability Project since she started law school, a valued member. And, you know, really dovetailing these 2 major concerns. It's just amazing that you can do it all while you're still trying to take classes and being an exceptional student. So Christine, you get to talk.
And Christine, like many of our award recipients, you've done amazing things during your summers as well. And now you've got this incredible job. So tell us a little bit about that as well, and say a few words, please.
Oh, thank you everyone for all of the kind words. I'll be after law school, I'll be working with Customs and Border Protection's Office of International Trade. Like Laura, I'm also going through not a security clearance, but a bit of a long background check. So of course that's a prerequisite to that. But yeah, so thank you for all of the kind words. Thank you, Douglas and Professor Mercer, especially. You guys have both been friends and mentors as I've been on the VIS team, and I feel like I've been a stronger writer and stronger oral arguer, and even a person from just having you as mentors and friends along that process. And I also want to give a few shout outs to other mentors too that are here at this meeting. So Professor Petrus, I remember first year when I came into your office talking about my interest in human rights in Latin America, and you pushed me towards IPM, which led to like a year and a half working with them and eventually going to work in El Salvador. So I'm incredibly grateful for you opening up your office to me the first year I was in law school and sitting down with me and having that conversation. And Dean Cover or Avi, as we know you the best by. Thank you so much for the countless times you've let me sit in your office and just talk with human rights and business and human rights with me, and also the opportunities to work in Palestine. That was one of the most moving experiences during my time in law school. And Professor Johnson, the work with YAP and being in your international research lab class is really interesting to learn about international humanitarian law. And it really added to my experience here. And also Dean Scharf for always including us all in all of the international law events Case would be doing, and also having the Human Rights Watch Fellowship. That was another really big part of my experience here. And finally, Professor Benza, it was, you really from my first year of law school really made the law come alive to me, just in your teaching style and just the way you portrayed criminal law. And also I always remember how you were part of our human trafficking event and just gave your time to be on a panel. So definitely appreciate all of that. Like the mentors that I've had at Case have really been truly inspiring, and I'm grateful for all of you. And also thank you to everyone who's here today too, my classmates and colleagues. It's been an honor to work pretty closely with a lot of you, and I've learned from you and definitely benefited from having you both as friends and colleagues. So thank you.
Thank you, Christina. And so far we've heard from JD award recipients. But the law school is also famous for its LLM and SJD programs. In fact, I'm happy to tell you that just last week, the International Jurists voted us #1 for law school experience for our LLM program. So we're getting that kind of recognition. And this doesn't happen without amazing professors and administrators. So to tell you about one of our LLMs and one of our SJDs is going to be those professors and administrators. We have Liz Wojcinski, we have Jack Turner, and we have Jonathan Gordon. I don't know which of you guys are going first. I'll leave it up to you.
Okay, we'll go ahead first with our LLM recipient for the Case Global Service Award. Every year we give this award to either a JD graduate or an LLM graduate who has shown great service and support for our LLM program. As Michael said, we admit up to 50 LLM students every year, and we're a fairly small office. So we depend on current students to help us integrate these incoming students, to meet and greet them, to show them throughout the law school. And usually this award goes to one of those students. So I'm happy and proud to award the Case Global Service Award to Jung Yuan or Zachary for his service to our LLM program. Now, Michael might remember that we first met Zachary on one of our trips to China. And the next morning after we met Zachary, there was a thank you gift at the front desk when we were checking out at the hotel, and it was a duck. Now, yes. It wasn't a live duck, so there wasn't any flapping around, at the hotel desk, but it was a cooked duck as a thank you gift from Zachary. So right then and there, I knew that Zachary would be a thoughtful and helpful student when he came to the United States. Nevertheless, Zachary made it to the United States. He studied law in our LLM program. And it's hard enough studying law when English is your second language, but to actually help and support our program while you're taking classes is an extra step that only few students take for us. And Zachary was very instrumental in meeting, greeting new students as they came in, helping students integrate into the law school, especially during this time during a pandemic when these international students can feel very alone and isolated in this environment. So we're very thankful that we had Zachary helping us in this program. I'd like to turn it over to another member of our team, Liz Wojcinski, who also was the beneficiary of Zachary's help and support, to tell you a little bit more about his service to the LLM program. Liz?
Hi. Yes, I would just like to reiterate that Zachary was an amazing assistant to the Office of Global Legal Studies. We hire students to help us every year. Zachary's been one of the best students we've ever employed because he just went out of his way to help new international students. Our students are often in the United States for the first time. They're coming to study law in their second or third language. And there's so much to adjust to in terms of finding an apartment, getting furniture, settling into law school life, and figuring out how to live and succeed at the law school. So we're so grateful to him. And I think he's a first-rate person, and I cheer for him and for all the future successes. He embodies everything that we've talked about nice guys win. So it's been a pleasure to know you.
And Zachary, I'm going to look forward to visiting you when we're in China. So let's hear a few words from you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. It's my great honor to study at the law school in the Case Western Reserve University. This is a very wonderful experience in my life. Thank you for you guys' recommendation. I will continue to work hard in my future life to achieve higher success. This program gave me a very good experience. I admire the leadership and the teaching ability of the Mrs. Liz and Mr. Tanner and all of the LLM program professor. So thank you guys. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Thanks everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Zachary.
Thank you guys.
Good job, Zachary.
All right, so last but certainly not least is Dr., and I love saying it, Dr. Danakpan Chobo. And is it going to be Jonathan and then Michael who will speak?
I unmuted?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be me now.
Okay.
So you stole my thunder about calling Danakpan Dr. Chobo, but Danakpan, as Michael Benza can attest to, was instrumental in the ICC moot court team advancing to the international rounds for the first time ever. As Mike has already described, his knowledge of the law, familiarity with the cases, and steadfast belief that the body of international law matters brought insight, experience, and skill to the team. According to Professor Benza, Danakpan was available to the students at all times, fully answered any questions, and independently researched issues to help the students move their arguments forward. And allow me to add a couple of other comments about Danakpan. In addition to his instrumental work for the ICC team, Danakpan was also at the same time working extremely hard on his SJD dissertation, which he successfully defended a couple of weeks ago, in oral defense. And this weekend earned his doctoral degree. And on top of that, I should add that Danakpan is one of the nicest students I have ever had the pleasure of teaching or working with. I'm sure Liz Wyszynski would agree. Félicitations, Dr. Chobo. Congratulations as well to all of the other award recipients.
Mike, do you want to add anything at all?
Well, I will add that, so Danakpon actually tried out for the ICC team as an SJD student, and he was so impressive in his tryout that we wanted to find a role for him with the team, because as an SJD student, he was not eligible to compete in the competition. And so we created the first ever student advisory role for Danakpon to join on the coaching staff for the ICC team. And this was a good balance for us because Carol brings extraordinarily fine writing skills. I have some background and experience in oral argument, but Danakpon actually believes that the ICC rules and the court is real. And so he brought that zeal for enforcement of the Rome Statute and a counterbalance to the other coach that doesn't believe that the ICC stuff is real. I do have to say that just because the dean is here. Sorry, Jim. But he has been an absolute joy and pleasure, and I look forward to working with him further on the ICC team as we go forward, but also on other projects as he continues and develops his career.
So Danakpon, we'd love to hear a few words from you to close things out.
Thank you so much, all of you. That is a surprise. I remember the first time Dean Chaff emailed me, say, Danakpon, congratulations, you have been selected for the Case Global Service Award 2021. I can't believe that. It was a surprise, didn't expect that. So I would like particularly thank you, Dean Chaff. Thank you, Professor Michael Benza, for giving me that opportunity to assist Professor Benza, who is really good, very good. Also, Dr. Carol Foss in this program. But I want to also mention that Professor and Dean Michael Chaff was my international law professor when I was a LLM degree. Also second review for my dissertation, SGD dissertation, and then chair of the committee, dissertation committee. Thank you so much, Dean Michael Chaff, for that. Also thank Professor Michael Benza. I like to call him the criminal defense attorney. So I learned a lot from him. I assist him. He was very wonderful. He was also my criminal law and criminal procedure one professor when I was in LLM program. And I will also thank Professor Jonathan Gordon. He's a very, very wonderful professor. He's a SJD director program. He helps me a lot. I remember we went to watch a movie together last 2019. Well, he is terrific, very kind person. I like him so much. I will thank all the team members. It's my pleasure to work with amazing, terrific team members. Sincerely, thank you so much, all of you. Thank you to our family.
And, you know, friends and family members, I think you get a sense from this event just how much the faculty and the staff care about the students and just how extraordinary our students are. I mean, you are looking at a group that are the best of the best. And they're some of the best people I've ever been associated with in my 30 years of teaching. And I have every confidence that they're going to go off and make their mark. They all come to the law school wanting to make an impact, and they're all going to. And we're going to be very proud to have you as our next generation of alums. I hope you will keep in touch with everybody, all of our faculty and staff that have been here today and your fellow colleagues. And I'm just going to march you out with this music. All right, congratulations, everybody. Do well, do good, and stay in touch. That ends our awards ceremony.